This is the RPG Pundit, the final boss and internet shitlords, coming to you live only for reasons of laziness. Um, I'm I'm just doing this because it's easier than having to film and then upload. It's not like I'm gonna have any big problem or anything. Well, you never know, but uh, I'm uh, I'm doing a short video today, and the main reason for it is to remind everyone that on Friday we have our very special Venger Satanis birthday special um, of the inglorious no, the inappropriate characters. I'm getting my weird names confused here. Inappropriate characters starring me, Venger, and Grim Jim, and we're going to be coming in live. That's on Friday, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, if I'm not mistaken. Okay? And we're going to be talking about a lot of things there. One of the things we're undoubtedly probably going to end up talking about is the subject that I'm briefly putting on for this little live stream here, which has to do with the fact that Stacy Dell'Orfano of Contessa has made a public statement calling for the boycotting of Garycon. So some of you might need explanations of what all of those things are. In the RPG world, the biggest convention that takes place, it's also probably the biggest con in other senses nowadays, is Gen Con, which is the convention for RPGs, the general RPGs. It had long ago been done in somewhere in Wisconsin, Lake Geneva, I believe, which is where TSR was in the old days. But then it moved to a different locale, and it eventually became less and less about D&D specifically and more about role-playing games in general. And in the last few years, it has been extremely, as some of my more edgy friends would probably say, cucked, as it's the people in charge have been dedicating it to making diversity panels and stuff like that. And at the same time as the OSR came into precedence, a new con was started, I believe, shortly after the death of Gary Gygax, in his honor, in his memory, you could say, which was called Garycon, which is held in, if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong about this, but if I'm remembering correctly, it's being held in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, which is where TSR originally was, the company that first made D&D. Gary Gygax, the creator of D&D, and in this con, it's mostly dedicated to OSR games. That is to say, original D&D or old school type games. And the Garycon is, from what I understand it, a hell of a lot more fun than Gen Con. I've never been able to go to either of those for a long time because I didn't really care to. And of course, for the last quite a long time now, because I'm not even on the same continent, right? But the thing that happened is that you had this last little while, Stacy Dell'Orfano, who is basically the only thing she's really known for in a big sense, is that she was the founder of Contessa, which was an online convention that was made by women for women, you could say, where men were able to participate, but only women were allowed to run games, an RPG convention for women. And she has now denounced Garycon, denounced the OSR in her social media, declared that it's dead or something like that. She's proposed an alternate name and an alternate logo because she's claimed, as so many others have recently tried to claim, that the OSR is full of, I don't know, oh my God, alt-right Nazis, even though not one of these people can point to a single product or even to a single designer who actually is an accurate representation of the claims they're making. Not one, There's nobody. And they're pretending that the OSR is just filled with, I don't know, that it's worse than Stormfront or something, And there's nobody like that in the OSR, right? None of it. And she specifically went after Garycon because Garycon invited the former, I don't know if I believe he is the former head, I'm not sure, I might be wrong about that too, of Frog God Games, who's Jim Webb, he was invited as one of the guests of honor, I think, or something like that at Garycon. And she took umbrage to this because there have been apparently some Me Too style allegations about Webb that he may have said something or touched someone or something like that, right? All of it very kind of iffy. I'm not sure. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm not saying it's true, right? But on the basis of this, she has called for, Webb to be blacklisted, for Garycon to be shut down, for the entire OSR to be disbanded, and replaced by something that her, woke friends want to have, which is some kind of very carefully curated and very controlled area full of purity tests, right? Now, Garycon, I think, hasn't actually responded to this at all. Unfortunately, Webb has. I can't say whether Webb did this or not, right? I especially would refuse to accept that we should ban, the OSR and boycott Garycon and all this on the basis of these allegations. If you can show me clear and incontrovertible proof, then that's a whole other story. I'll be the first one to condemn, get involved in any of that. But if he's, we in the age of where we've been told now that we have to destroy men's careers with absolutely zero proof, at the same time as articles come out pointing out that you've had a group of high school girls at the same time as the Kavanaugh hearing. You had a group of high school girls, 5 of them, that conspired to falsely accuse a fellow student. He ended up in juvenile detention. He ended up with an ankle bracelet, home arrest. His life was destroyed. His career prospect was destroyed. And then they admitted that they lied, and they just did it because they don't like him. And so we're supposed to listen and believe and unquestionably ruin people's lives and destroy entire institutions, while at the same time this sort of stuff is going on, right? So no, sorry, we're not buying that anymore, okay? Now, if there is proof that, okay, that's a whole different story, but I don't know. I don't know if he did it or if he didn't do it, but I do know what he did do, and that is that he withdrew himself as a guest of honor. He didn't quite apologize, so at least there's that, but this is really pointless, right? It doesn't solve anything, and in fact, Stacey Delorfano went ahead immediately after that and made a post saying this doesn't solve anything. We refuse to accept this. We still want blood. There's no amount of apologies. All you do there is you're throwing, chum in the water, right? You're telling them to keep on attacking because then they'll give more concessions. You don't negotiate with terrorists. You don't pay the Danelaw, right? So he did that, unfortunately. And yeah, well, this is what I was going to get to. Somebody in the comments has gotten a little bit ahead of me. Is that all of this is especially ironic because it's basically Stacey Delorfano stabbing the movement that most supported her initially in the back, and in fact stabbing one of the people that helped her in the back, right? It's just unbelievably vicious because let me tell you, when Contessa came out, all of the woke crowd, all the SJW crowd in the first year of Contessa, and I know this because I was there and there is proof for this on the RPG site. In that first year, all the online feminists, all the progressive leftists condemned Contessa as problematic. Why? Like you'd think, okay, well, why would they do that, right? It's an online con where only women are allowed to run games. In fact, there were a few very conservative sort of gamers or slightly misogynist sort of gamers that were very upset about this, right? They were saying, oh, but why? That's not fair. What about the men, right? I mean, I don't buy that. And I said so at the time, right? The vast majority, though, of traditional gamers, and specifically the OSR, and specifically the RPG site, right? We were the first ones, the first people to endorse her. Right? We gave Contessa support at the same time that RPGNet and Story Games and all of the other woke places of the the liberal the SJW crowd in the RPG and D&D hobbies were saying no, this is wrong, right? And the reason they said it's wrong is because it was a place where women would just game, right? Where they would get to run games and play games. There were no panels about how toxic the gaming culture is. There were no special panels about feminism in gaming. Stacey quite correctly at that time said, that's not what this needs to be about, right? There's no reason, this should be about playing, right? The whole point is for us to play, not for us to get together in panels and, talk about the toxic male rape culture making it impossible for us to play when you can literally just go and play, right? And so we supported her, right? Eventually, when the success of Contessa and the popularity of it became apparent, the SJW crowd turned around their story, and they decided since they couldn't just shut it down, they infiltrated it, right? And so now there's people in there who have made a whole point about making it more politically correct, gradually, step by step, right? And of course, Stacey drank the Kool-Aid, which is why now she suddenly turned on the OSR and these people. And as for Webb and Frog God Games, they do swords and wizardry, and they actually hired her and a team of her friends to do all the art, all the layout work, I believe the editing, I'm not sure about that, but I think so, for one of the editions of Swords and Wizardry, which was like an all-woman group. Again, just to make a kind of statement about, diversity in the hobby, right? Which sounded kind of stupid, but actually that edition looked good as far as I was concerned. It didn't look any less. Yeah, it was a very different style of art, but it didn't look any dumber than the other styles of OSR art. In some ways, I thought it was maybe an improvement over some of the other editions. So but basically, Webb gave her an in, right? They gave them, her and her friends, a position there, right? And now she does this. And then she dares to accuse, because whatever you might think, maybe there's inside knowledge about Webb that I haven't seen yet. That might be true. I'm not saying that it isn't. I'm not saying he's automatically innocent either, right? But I'm saying that there's no way to go forward with this unless there's more evidence. But what I do know is that Stacey is full of shit when she claims that the whole OSR is somehow, corrupt and, rape culture, misogynistic, alt-right Nazi, or whatever else she's accusing us of, right? Or that Garycon itself is that way, right? It's time to grow the fuck up, right? You had been given all the support, and that was what you're telling us is no amount of support is enough, right? Basically, why should we do anything other than civil war at this point, right? Because there is no means of participation, even when we agree. And we agree freely and completely voluntarily, you still find a way to condemn us, right? Nobody made me, I can't speak to what Frog God's motives were, but nobody made me or gave me anything or pressured me to support Contessa when it was just starting out. I did it because I thought she was right in what she was saying. And I thought that on the contrary, and I supported it for the same reason that the feminist SJWs were against it, was because Contessa proved that that there's no problem with women in gaming, that women can play tabletop RPGs, and that nothing needs to be done except for them to get together and play, right? Or for them to get together with men and play, and that there isn't some kind of huge crisis that requires a massive transformation of the hobby under the protective control of the Bolshevik Politburo or some bullshit, right? So this was why I did it, and I would still say that was right, but apparently there's nothing in the there's absolutely none that doesn't matter for anything to any of these people, right? Because this is not about that. This is some kind of a war of extermination that is being fought, right? They don't really. It doesn't matter ultimately how much you agree with them. This is why the fawning beta crowd of people who are not real believers but are going out of their way to try to sound woke in the hopes that they won't be put in the gulag. I have news for you. You'll just be the last ones put in there if people like us don't stop them from putting you in there, okay? That's where this is going. There is no other other answer to that. I see someone just said that they're about to be getting Lion and Dragon there. That is awesome. Today I don't happen to have Lion and Dragon up here, but it's an excellent medieval authentic OSR fantasy RPG. I'm glad to see that you're going to be getting it. I'm glad to see everybody who's here listening in on this. I'm not going to be going on for too much longer, But again, make sure you come by on Friday. There'll be a live chat there. At Inappropriate Characters. If you're not already subscribed there, if you're subscribed to me but not subscribed to them, be sure to subscribe there. And if you're not subscribed to me, be sure to subscribe. The Patreon thing, I'm still waiting to see what Mr. Peterson and Ruben come up with. But if for the meantime, if you want to support me on Patreon, there's a link to Patreon in the description below. And if you don't want to support me on Patreon, you can support me on PayPal, which there's a link to it via my blog. There's a PayPal button on my blog. I'd be very thankful for that. The more support I get, then the more of these videos I'm going to do, and I might do an actual full-blown live stream, not a video that I'm just doing as a live stream because I'm too lazy to do it as a video. If you want to support me in a different way, then purchase my products, right? Oh, there's my cat. It wouldn't be a completely successful video without the cat. So you can pick up games like Lion and Dragon, Dark Albion, Lord of Olympus, but I've also got my RPG Pundit Presents PDF series, which are a whole series. We're almost up to issue 60 will be coming out this week. Each one of them is a short product, anywhere between, I think, I don't know what the shortest one is, but maybe 6 or 7 pages to as much as like 30 pages. The cat's not for sale. Somebody just asked how much for the cat. RPG Pundit Presents has a number of different topics, all of them in the OSR, but stuff you can also translate to, your D&D or other fantasy games. There's Gonzo stuff, there's medieval authentic stuff. So check out the link for the RPG Pundit Presents series, and if you want to support me, that's a great way to do it, right? If you don't want to just send me cash, which I would love, then feel free to send me to purchase send it in directly by purchasing one or more of the RPG Pundit Presents PDFs. A lot of them are quite good. I see someone just said that they have 3 of these. Tengo 3 libros ya. Oh, tenemos un alguien hablando en castellano. We got a Spanish speaker in the comments. Awesome. So this is basically it. It's a pity I won't be able to go to pics of my cat. Yeah, I don't know why my cat always gets more views than anything else in this channel, but yeah, I could sell. Yeah, if you want, if somebody sends me $100 on PayPal, then I will send them a photo montage of my cat or something like that. I'm not going to be able to make it to Garycon, obviously, because I'm a continent away. And, my finances just can't handle that. But I've heard, apparently, Venger Satanis is going to be at Garycon, which will be fun. It's a pity I can't be there with him. If somebody ever wants to do a GoFundMe or something like that, if they manage to raise, I don't know how much it would be. It'd be probably about $2,500 or something like that, right? But if somebody does that, I will gladly accept it to go to Garycon, and then imagine what that would be with me and Venger both at Garycon. Shit would fly. I'm pretty sure. I don't know which of the two of us would suffer an attempted assault, or if one of us would attempt to assault the other. But something would definitely happen. Anyway. I don't think that's going to happen. I just want to let it out there that if it did, if there's people that want to fundraise for me to go to Garycon, I will definitely take them up on the offer just for the lulz, just because, especially if it's me and Venger both there. I don't know if we can get Grim Jim to come over too. If we I guess that would be a what is it called, like an additional a bonus fundraising if we meet our target, we'll bring Grim Jim over and do a whole issue of live inappropriate characters live from Garycon. That would be quite amusing. The curmudgeon in the cellar. All right, guys. So that's it for today. Because I don't want to do too much more than this. First of all, because I've been talking for quite a while already, and second, because I want to leave you guys with a little bit of an appetite for Friday. go check out Inappropriate Characters. You can see our past episodes on the YouTube channel. And stay tuned. Mark your evening for 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on Friday. That's, I believe, Friday the 28th. Yeah. So we'll see you then. Take care, everyone. Thank you for everything. Currently smoking Lorenzetti Half Volcano plus Morning Drive.